Hello, nonprofit leaders. I'm Sarah Olivieri, your host, and this podcast is here to assist people like you, executive directors, board members, and other nonprofit leaders make a bigger impact with insights, tips, and lessons learned from nonprofit leaders and experts. Having been an executive director, a board member, and now a consultant and coach, I truly understand the challenges you face. And that's why I'm here. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, so you can make a bigger impact without the burnout. And so is our sponsor, DonorBox. DonorBox isn't just a suite of helpful fundraising tools, it's a partner that helps you raise more money and supports you in retaining your donors. I love their forward-thinking approach. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. And don't forget to sign up for the Inspired Nonprofit Leadership newsletter, where you'll get bite-sized, actionable tips just for nonprofit leaders like you, delivered weekly to your inbox. Sign up at inspirednonprofitleadership.com/sign up. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, nonprofit leaders. Sarah Olivieri here, and today I want to talk about building a stronger nonprofit team. I think so many organizations I have heard out there are struggling with hiring or retaining great team members, or sometimes these days, even any team members. If you've had this problem, stick around for the next few minutes. I'm going to give you my top tips on building or keeping great team members. All right, number one, nonprofit people. You have to pay your people not just a living wage, but a good wage, a wage that is worthy of the world-changing work that you do at your organization. If you underpay people, they will burn out, they will leave, and they're not giving you their best because their mind is partly full of, "Ugh, I'm underpaid," or, "Oh, maybe I should think about getting another job," or friends and family, "You don't make enough." Or maybe, and I hear this happen a lot, they've taken on a second job to help make ends meet because their nonprofit job pays so little, but they don't want to give up on the nonprofit. And so they're coming to your place already just like physically burnt out because they're overworking. All right, so you might be going, well, we don't have the budget to pay people. Well, not the topic of this training, but it is totally possible if you want to learn how to add staff and level up how much you're paying staff. You can go to pivotground.com/staff up. I think that's without a dash. Let me just make sure I've given that to you correctly. Staff dash up. And I have a training there that you can watch where I talk all about how to be able to afford and then build the nonprofit dream team that you've always wanted. All right, so that's tip one. Tip two, you do need to create a supportive and inclusive workplace culture. On the surface, this sounds kind of like, yes, it's a good idea. But when we go down to like, how do we actually change culture? This means having processes and practices in place that nurture this kind of supportive and inclusive workplace. So a couple examples of how you can do this. So when you start your team meetings, whether it's a full staff meeting or a small meeting, how do you start that meeting? Because the process you go through in meetings is the process that is going to kind of it should be your North Star. It should be a shining example of how you want people to interact with each other at work, and how people interact with each other is what ultimately creates the culture. So if your meetings start off with executive director makes, a bunch of announcements and try to cram a bunch of information down everybody's throat, and then a couple people who are, the loud people in your organization bring up a few points, and then everybody leaves going, oh my God, that was such a waste of my time. And now they're kind of like talking behind people's backs. Wasn't she so annoying? Why did he have to bring that up for the 10th time? And Jesus Christ, excuse my language, Why is our executive director cramming all this information that was way too much for us and maybe could have even been in an email? That's going to set a tone and it's going to get into the rest of your culture. Alternatively, you could begin your meetings with a reflective moment of silence. I love to begin meetings with just any sort of structured segue, a check in. What's a personal high and low from your week? Or it could be a personal and a work high and low, right? Take a moment to bring everybody in and acknowledge and appreciate everybody in the room as people, right? There's gonna be two big things, right? For culture, to say when we greet each other, we say, I love that saying, I hope I say it right, "Salbona," right? I see you, right? Acknowledge that your people are whole people coming into this room. And as a leader, this also gives you a lot of good sense of how your team is doing. Do they need a little emotional support? Do they need some more information? Do they need time to talk through something? Is everybody jazzed up and excited to like power through a bunch of work, right? So we want to start our meetings by acknowledging people, and then we want to make sure that our meetings are filled with things that need to be meetings, things that people actually need to discuss and share as a group verbally. Of course, there's lots of other ways to create supportive and inclusive culture, but I hope that that example of just the simple thing of how you structure your meetings can translate into culture and supportive and inclusive culture. Okay, my third tip is investing in professional development and growth opportunities for your staff. You want people to be able to level up their skill base. And you might be going, well, what if they get better and they leave us? But then you might also ask, what if they don't get better and they stay, right? Professional development people like learning, actually, for the most part. They like growing, they like improving, and they like opportunity for forward or upward movement in their organizations. And it is just so healthy to be nourishing. And by doing that, right, we're also talking about that in the culture we want. We are encouraging people to have a learning mindset, which is sometimes called a growth mindset. And that is really, really good for our organizations and makes our organizations places where people want to be and stay and join. All right. My last tip for you today is to build pathways for career advancement. And even if there isn't room in your organization, create pathways that help people find their career advancement. I think that as employers, as leaders, we can be nurturers, shepherds, guides, sages to the people in our organizations who maybe aren't, and I don't want to say, right, not the people we just supervise, the people who haven't gone on as far a journey. Like maybe, and we can do this in so many ways. It doesn't have to be a hierarchical structure. You can, people can buddy up. You can have all sorts of ways to nurture and create opportunities for career advancement. So don't just limit yourself to your organization. But the amazing thing that might happen is somebody might be excited about wanting, maybe they want to be great at sponsorships. And you're like, well, we don't do sponsorships at our organization. Maybe they leave and you've just had an amazing experience. They get great sponsorships, or maybe they bring whole new opportunities, or they learn about sponsorships and it causes them to think about something in a new way and they can start something new at your organization. I really don't think you can go wrong with, again, this is the theme of encouraging growth. And so we want to have a lot of opportunities. And the last thing I'll say on creating career advancement, development opportunities is I talked about in a previous video about how we want to open up the roles in our organizations, the conversation about who's going to be in what role, to as many people as in our organizations as we can. I facilitate these conversations, staff wide, as we think about evolving our strategy. Who would like to change roles? Who would like to, is there anything in this whole map of everything we do in a nonprofit that you would be interested in doing? That anybody, we can have conversations and dialogue and We can try things on in a provisional kind of temporary period, see if they're a good fit, both for the person who is interested in doing it and the organization. We don't have to have this top-down decision-making structure around who is going to advance to which position. And you would be surprised the people who come out of the woodwork who you already have on your team who have just been waiting for an opportunity to shine. On that note, I'm going to wrap up for today. If you'd like tips like this, like a summary of this video in your email box, or announcements about upcoming videos or trainings that I'm doing, you can go to pivotground.com/sign up. And if you're like, oh my God, I want like Sarah helping hold my hand, like guiding me through how do we actually implement these things in my organization, go to pivotground.com/application. That's an application to work with me. I have a few different options. For most organizations, that is the Thrive program, where we work individually and small group with other executive directors to help organizations and their leaders thrive. Until next time.
You've been listening to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode or the bonus episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Tune in every week for more useful insights and wisdom on nonprofit leadership. Thanks so much for all you do for the communities you serve. Until next time, all the best.